I hope you guys could see me and hear me because I don't have any of my camera stuff or microphone stuff. So hopefully everything works. But today in this amazing Let's Code It Out stream, because it's all about coding, we're building our fantastic portfolio project. But before we get too far, you guys, don't be shy, say hello in the comments. So last week we've been working on the blog. We have the blog showing up, at least in our front end. We're able to see our blog. And today we're going to work on kind of setting it up with Markdown. So let me show you a quick example. And I kind of blew up the screen here, but I'm going to show you here what we got here. So this is our project that we're working on. It's, we have a bunch of different functionality that we're implementing, all this other great stuff. We have our login form. But last week we started working on adding our blog and our articles. So we have some of our posts. And again, this is still, don't worry about the CSS. It's still kind of work in progress. We're still just working on getting the functionality down. And so our blog currently lives in our Strappy backend. And, we are getting this information from our Strappy backend. We're pushing it to our front end. And then you see our post. Now, we're going to look at the third post here. Nope, not second. Let me refresh this because I know it changes third post. Notice how we have the hash symbols here and hello from Markdown, and it's really not doing anything. It's not being parsed. So today we're going to talk about how to incorporate Markdown in your application. We're going to talk about what Markdown is, why you should use it, and I'm going to tell you why. But before we do that, let me say hello to everybody. We're going to look at some articles regarding and talked about Markdown. But I hope you guys are all doing awesome. I'm really happy to have you all guys here on the stream, but let me know if you guys could hear me well, if the sound is good. Like I said, I'm in the midst of moving, and so a lot of my stuff is packed, so I left the bare minimum for me to be able to be productive. And so today we're going to talk about Markdown and incorporating Markdown in our application and going from there. So again, let me know if the stream is live. Let me know if you guys could see stuff, could hear stuff. I see Lucky here. Hello, Lucky. Good to see you. And I just want to know everything's working before I get too far ahead of myself. So anyway, hello guys. No, regardless where you guys live, I know we have Thanksgiving coming up in US. Let me know where you guys at. Are you celebrating Thanksgiving? Are you guys, unless you're not in US, which is perfectly understandable. But we're on live. Northern Chimp saying hello. Hello, my man. Good to see you. So, as people jumping on really slowly, getting ready for the live stream, I'm just going to get to it. I'm going to start getting to work. And so we are working on our application and we're continuing building our blog. And in today's video, we're going to talk about Markdown, why it is, why we want to use it. And first, let me start here at Strappy here, and I'll show you what I mean. So Markdown allows you to parse your text into HTML or JSX if you're using React application. And this will give us more flexibility on how we want to style our blog. Because like right now, we have this article that I wrote, very simple. And right now we're literally just getting the title of the blog and we're getting the content of the blog. And in our code, we literally have this section where we display the title and we display the content. But this is all going to be a paragraph. There's no way of kind of saying there should be like a heading, subheading. So it's like really tough to do that because I'm not sure what the HTML structure is going to be outside of what I define here. But instead, what I want to do is I want to write my blog in Markdown and be able to have it be parsed into JSX. So then, if we look at here, for instance, hello Markdown, like if I want this, I believe, we'll talk about what Markdown is. I'm just going to give you some quick examples here. So if I have this text in Markdown, so 1 pound, I believe it's God damn it. It's h1 header. This would be h2. So this could be like sub header. And it is being parsed. You see here, it's being parsed. Let me just copy this. It's being parsed in my editor in Strappy. But after I save it, right? I save it and I take it back and I view it on our application. Let me refresh here. Here's the stuff we added. Look, this is not getting parsed. Hello, Markdown. The subheader, it's not being parsed. These are not their own separate paragraphs. And so we want to make sure that we're able to get back, you know, this Markdown and represent it in HTML and CSS so we could style our blog the way we want. And if you go back to Strappy editor, if we switch to preview, see this looks much nicer. You know, if we add an image using, you know, the Markdown shortcuts, it's going to make it easier for us to be able to then later style it, rather than what we're currently doing in our application is just having it return a paragraph with the content in it and h1 for the title. So let's kind of jump into that, talk about what Markdown is. I haven't used it much, so it's going to be a great learning experience for both of us. So I pulled out a bunch of articles, and the first thing I found, it's basically an article how to safely render Markdown using React Markdown. And React Markdown is a third-party library, and that's what we're going to use in our application. And they talk about the benefits, why we want to use React Markdown. But we'll look at this in more detail in a little bit. But basically, the first thing I did is just did my research. And it kind of shows you, you know, the Markdown examples here. Notice if you use one hash here, is going to be heading 1. If you use 2, or whatever you want to call it, pound sign, it's going to be heading 2. Then they'll show you how to make text bold, italic. And so we want to use this library to help us to parse it into HTML and CSS. So this is kind of what we're going to work through on this stream. Hopefully we won't fail as miserably as we do normally. So, and I looked at a bunch of articles. You know, what is Markdown? Markdown is a lightweight markup language that you can use to add formatting elements to plain text documents. Created by John Gruber in 2004. Markdown now is one of the most popular languages. Markdown is different than using what you see is what you get editor. In the application like Microsoft Word, you click a button, format a word and phrase, and changes are visible immediately. Markdown isn't like that. When you create a Markdown format file, you add Markdown syntax to that text to indicate which words and phrases should look different. So basically, it will allow us to be able to take our plain text that we have and parse it into HTML, or in our case, because we're using React, into JSX. And so they kind of show some examples. What is Markdown good for? You know, blah, 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 you know, whatever. We'll get into it. So Google is your friend. I also pulled up some Markdown guide just in case, like if we get stuck, we could figure it out. But the cool thing with Strappy, like whenever you type stuff here, and let's say, you know, I want this to be bold, right? Hold on a second, let me refresh this. I want this to be bold, right? When I switch to, oh, God damn it. God damn it. So let me switch to preview here. So if I want to make this bold, right? Boom. Actually, I've got to use it in Markdown mode. Yep, you see I'm suffering. So you could add a bunch of Markdown. You know, I want this to be italic. So each symbol represents and allows you to style the text the way you want. You know, you want to, you know, be H5 randomly here. And then when we switch to preview, we kind of see, you know, here's that italic text, here's the bold text. And so we want to basically convert this to HTML and CSS, and we're going to do it with React Markdown. At least that's the plan today. But anyway, this is going to be a learning exercise for both of us. And this is why I like coding live and not preparing, is because I want to show you the reality of how you go through implementing stuff and getting it to work. So if you guys have any questions or anything you guys want to talk about, let me know, but we're going to kind of get into it. So the npm package that we're going to install called React Markdown. So I'm just gonna copy it. I'm gonna go into my application, kill the server for now, and the first thing, at least, let's install it. npm React Markdown. Let's install this baby. Once it installs, while it's installed, I'm gonna kind of look at this. They kind of tell you why you should use this one. You could read it on their npm package manager site. But for now, we just want to get React Markdown. It's going to return a component in which we could pass our Markdown. If we want to use a plugin, we could add a plugin. But we're going to start with the most simplest example first. So let me copy and paste this. React Markdown from React Markdown. Now, I'm wondering if we have to have a plugin. But anyway, let me go back to our basic article here. So how to safely render Markdown using React Markdown. All right, we looked at this. So first we want to install npm React Markdown. We did it using React Markdown. A simple example: since the React Markdown library provides the component, we need to place our Markdown text as children in it. This will then return converted HTML code. So here is an example. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally going to copy and paste this example and see where we're at. And maybe this tutorial is going to be much easier. So then we could move on to other things like styling our blog. I think will be awesome. Luke's here. Luke coding after 30. Represent 100%. So we're working on try to render, instead of just like a p tag and h1 tag, because this is not going to give us flexibility to kind of style our dynamic blog. Instead, what we're going to use Markdown, and we're going to write our blog post in Markdown, and then when it gets parsed on the front end here, hopefully it's going to be HTML and CSS. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to import React Markdown, and I'm literally using the example from this fantastic article that I found from LogRocket. That's a fantastic name for the website. And basically we want to return the component, React Markdown component, and here they provide a very simple syntax here. So let's go check it out. Let's go back to our React application. Let me just move this backend code out of the way so we don't constantly see it. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm just going to literally post this instead of the text here for now. Well, I'm going to do it beneath it. I'm going to kind of comment this out. And let's see what happens. Let me refresh. Let me restart my server because we just installed the package. Yeah, so that's what we're working on today, getting Markdown to work, styling our blog, and anything else that we need to do. And I know sometimes watching somebody else's code is boring, and I get that, especially sometimes when you make mistakes and stuff like backfires and blows up in your face. But this is why I do it, because I want to give you guys a real representation of how real coding in real life is. It's not glamorous. Sometimes you're going to be searching stuff. Sometimes you're going to be getting stuck and trying to figure things out. That's perfectly normal. But, you know, it is what it is. And so here we are. So I have good news. That thing we installed just magically worked. So if we look at the post now, React Markdown is awesome. And we know that it is parsing the Markdown accordingly. And so I'm very interesting to see what does it return. What does it return? So that returns a paragraph with an element and a strong tag. So let's see, let's do some editing for our, so this is our blog in Markdown. So now let's see if we could parse this portion of what we're getting back. So let's kind of go back to my application here. So we know we're getting our Markdown from our content here. I'm assuming that's what we're getting. So I'm just curious here. Let me console log content, console.log content, and this should be Markdown from Strappy. So let's take a look here. So blah blah blah, go to React application. Let's refresh here. Let's inspect, see what's going on. Yeah, let me know if my audio is fine, because I'm basically not using any of my camera stuff. I'm not using the right mic, so hopefully you guys could hear and see stuff. So yes, look at this. We're getting that content in Markdown format from Strappy, so we should just pass it as children to the React Markdown component. Wow, this was a lot simpler than I thought. So in theory, if I pass content here that we're already getting from our front end, this should be parsed to JSX and it should work great. But I'm curious here. So almost exciting. Let's see here. Let's go back to Strappy. So it's not parsing everything. It's parsing the basics. I have, let me save this. Maybe that's what I needed to do to save it, because I want to make sure that we see the italic and bold text. So let's see it here. Yeah, so perfect. It works like legit. So now what we could do, we could write our blog using Markdown. So there's plenty of websites you could go and to see getting started with Markdown. It talks about why you should use Markdown, you know, talks about how it works. I just want to find an example that I could copy and paste. Let me just Google that, just so I don't rewrite from scratch, because I just want to test the functionality. Post example in Markdown. An example of Markdown post. Okay, let's see here. No, where's the raw code? I don't want to see it already rendered. I mean, isn't this ridiculous? I can't get, because I don't want to write Markdown at the moment. I just want to test it. Let's see here. Do they have an example? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's a simple example here of Markdown code or basic text, basically used or styled with Markdown. So I'm going to take this article. I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to post this, switch to preview. Wow, look at that, beautifully styled. Whoa, I love that. You could even do, I'm kind of curious how this is gonna show up. So switch to Markdown. So we posted our Markdown example. Let's hit save. And now when we go back to our React application and refresh, look at this beauty. Look at this beauty. Oh my gosh. Now we are able to hover and inspect all these different elements, and you see we get HTML, we get paragraph tags, we get OL, like ordered lists, we get p tag, we get lists, you know, we get all this exciting stuff. So now we could go ahead and style our blog, which is fantastic. So that's what we're going to spend the rest of the time. This was much easier than I thought it was going to be, which is exciting. So so let's kind of review quickly what we did so far. So the first thing I did is I Googled how to incorporate Markdown in your React application. And the first article that popped up, it says how to safely render Markdown using React Markdown. So I looked through this article and they're using React Markdown package, which is based on Remark, which is Markdown preprocessor, which is perfect. I don't even need to know how it works behind the scenes. I just need to see the implementation. You literally just import that component React Markdown component, and you pass your Markdown into it as children. And that's exactly what we did here. We have our component, and we're passing our content that from Strappy comes as children, and we are able to parse it using this React Markdown component. And so now, instead of returning basic text, which we couldn't style before, we're now converting Markdown into JSX or HTML, and we're able to literally go ahead now and style it. Because if you look at here, if I click here, notice we have our paragraph, we have our H2, we have our header 1, and so now we could go ahead and style it. And for styling, we're gonna make it look not exactly perfect, but just to kind of get a basic idea. So we're gonna go see and style this blog now that we can. And if you're wondering, Strappy by itself, whenever you use the I forgot what this is called, like rich text editor in Strappy, whenever you write stuff here, behind the scenes, it is converted to Markdown. And that's why we were able to take advantage of it from our Strappy backend and be able to have this beautiful Markdown JSX that now we could style. So let me look at the comments here. Hey Paul, can you check your email? I sent you a short question, please. Yeah, we'll take a look at it later. Right now, I just want to make sure that I stick to the code that I'm writing here for this project, but I will take a look at it when I have time. Engine boy, it's 6:50 a.m. here. Nice. Damn, bro, that's early. And Idrissa, thank you for the stream. Man, I'm gonna be here regardless, how many people come and watch, because at the end of the day, I just want to show the reality of coding, and I want to talk about like the actual struggle that people have while coding. It's not as glamorous as people go through it. Like I get stuck all the time. I have questions, and what do? Like, look at all these tabs that I have open. I look at the documentation and I read and I try to figure stuff out. And this is kind of like the point of all these live streams, to kind of show you guys that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to look stuff up, but at the end of the day, you got to be building stuff from scratch. And yep, hologram nunchucks here, everybody said hello. And can I answer you now? After I get through all the stuff that I planned for the stream, for sure I'll take a look at your email, but at this point, I want to continue to stay focused, because otherwise, that will be, distracting. But if you do want me to help you out, you could schedule a one-on-one with me for sure. And Tech Rally's here. It's been a hot minute. Yeah, I've been being killed at work, and I'm moving. I'm gonna be in Connecticut for 3 months. And by the way, Tech Rally, I'm gonna be in the city many times. So if you're around, let's catch up. Let's grab some coffee. And lucky 2:24 a.m. Jesus Christ, you guys are early birds. So basically, I looked up some examples of how to use Markdown. Here's documentation for using React Markdown, how to implement it. So we did it. It was way easier than I anticipated. So now we could focus on styling. So if we go to our application, notice that I have this blog detail, and basically this gets a query that we make from our front end. It gets the data from our API. We're returning our data via GraphQL, and then now we're implementing React Markdown component from React Markdown library, which allows us to pass our content that from Strappy is coming back as Markdown, and now it's being parsed into HTML, CSS. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to import styles, or styled, I guess, from styled, god damn it, that's not what I want to do, from styled components, and I'm going to make so this is our post detail blog. I'm going to make my post detail styled component, which is going to be a wrapping div, and then inside here we could, let's do a test here. We'll do h1 color red, something ridiculous, and then let's say padding, just so it's obvious, 1 rem, and then background, let's make it I don't know, black. Why not black? Already. And then what we're going to do, the way style components work, you could take the style component and wrap or make it post detail style, make it the parent component, and all the styling that we write inside of it is going to be passed down to all of its children. So in theory, we should have the h1 color red, background black, being able to basically should work. Boom, basic Markdown. Look at that ugly ass styling, h1. And the cool thing is, before parsing the Markdown into HTML, there's no real way to style this. And I'll kind of go back here, show you as an example. Before, what we were doing, we were literally just using a p tag and passing our content into it, right? And if we take a look here on the bottom, you're going to see that we were getting this mess of text, this big mess. Notice how it's not styled at all. Notice how it's not parsed. And so using React Markdown, instead of getting this gobbledygook that we couldn't even style, because if you take a look at it, it's just one p tag, right? It's just Markdown being passed into a p tag, which is completely useless to us at this point. And so instead of using this amazing library, React Markdown, we're now able to get basic JSX or HTML representation of it. So now when we take a look here, you know, we're able to go ahead and style stuff, you know, and so that's kind of cool. That was a lot simpler. And so as we could see now, all of our blog posts that are rendered, they're being rendered in Markdown. So I could go to the first post in my Strappy here. Let me go to posts. Let's go to the first post, and we could, let's go switch to Markdown. We could add, this is a header. I'm just gonna do basic just so you guys could see, you know, kind of how cool this is. This is subheader, and I'm just gonna copy and paste this. And then the point is, yeah, you do have to learn a little bit about Markdown. I still have to learn. I don't normally use it, but because it's part of Strappy, I'm like, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. So now when we go back to our application, first post, let's refresh here. So notice now we're getting the styling. We're gonna make the styling less ugly, but at least now we're able to go ahead and style our blog much nicer. So, you know, and we are able to apply our styling inside our style component. Let me take a look at the comments, you know, go. I mean, we can't make one-on-one because I live in Europe. Why not? I talked to a lot of people from Argentina. I had somebody do a one-on-one with me. I had somebody do a one-on-one with me from Russia. You know, it's fine. It's like my fiance lives in Thailand right now, and we talk no problem. It's just figuring out the time difference and getting together. Just send me an email, the times that work for you, and we'll work on it. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Oh, so what's up, everyone? What's up, brother? Abhishek, hey, good morning. What's up? Saying hello from India. Adrisa saying good morning to her fellow patrons over here. All right, so we got, this was way easier than I thought, and this is kind of cool. So we got the Markdown working. We got, let me know, guys, you know, it's because, you know, this is going to be basic CSS styling. and kind of not bore anybody, let me know if there's something else that you want me to do in React or show you how to do in React, especially if I know how to do it. Like, I don't know how to do everything, but you know, we could talk about it. So if you have any questions specific about React, let me know, because yeah, I could style the blog in real life and basically be like, hey, like, check this out. But at the same time, if you guys have specific questions about React that you want to ask and talk about, we could do that. And I'm actually looking at some stuff here. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, and I'm just looking stuff up. Blah, 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 blah. Yep. Yeah, I'll answer you on the email for sure. You have to understand, I'm like super really busy, and these live streams, this is not my work, this is not my job. I don't get paid for this, and so it is kind of like, you know, I have really like no time, and so I'm trying to like stay focused here. So can we use Strappy with Bootstrap and Vanilla Gs? I know now React really well at the moment. Yeah, 100%. So I'll show you an example here. So this is, so whenever you use Strappy, let me, Heroku. So I'm hosting this application on Heroku and Community One API. Let me just show you, and I don't have to log in. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I just don't remember the URL. But here's the application, and it has a, so here I'm going to type projects. It's one of the endpoints that will return the data for all the projects. So Strappy is basically just an API. So you can use it with vanilla JavaScript. So if you go into CodePen, I might already have an example here. Yeah, so here's an example. Okay, this is in React, but that's okay. I'm just gonna copy and paste some code from here, so I don't have to worry about it. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm just gonna copy. Actually, no, hold on a second. It's not gonna help copying. Let's see if I have a JavaScript here example that I could quickly show you. Yeah, but you could use Strappy with whatever you want. So here's basically a JavaScript example. I'm not using Bootstrap, but you could import Bootstrap. But I am, let me go to Java. Okay, never mind. This is not the example here, but you could write and use vanilla JavaScript here. So I didn't finish this, but we could write a function, you know, called get data, whatever it is, right? And we could use fetch for now. So let's make it async. Function, and we're going to await fetch. And I'm just like showing you that, you know, Strappy, regardless like what you use, let's do const response equals await fetch. And basically, I am passing the endpoint from Strappy. And I'm not going to build out this whole thing out, but I'm just showing you, we got to put it in quotes, that you could just write vanilla JavaScript, regular fetch stuff. Let's see here. Fetch, blah, blah, did I write this correct? Yeah, and so you could use it with vanilla JavaScript. You could write your code like using regular JavaScript. So I haven't used fetch in a while. using fetch. And look, I forget stuff all the time to get data. And using fetch web API kind of shows you. So they're using .then, I use async await. Like blah, 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 blah. I'm just gonna skip through this. And see, like somebody asked me, do you always like forget stuff? Yeah, I forget stuff all the time. So using fetch with sync, and I'm not embarrassed to kind of do this right now because I want to show you that this is legitimate thing. Like if you forget stuff, you could look it up. So yeah, I wrote the code correct. So I'm not sure where I'm failing here because we're fetching. Maybe we need to do yes, because we are fetching JSON. But I'm just kind of showing you this as an example here. Const response projects will be response.json, and then Control X. That's the console.log, and we want to console log projects from projects. Yeah, so see right here. So this is the data that I'm getting from my Strappy API, and basically you could do this with JavaScript, with whatever you want. So I could literally create the view here with vanilla JavaScript, make the card, make the blog, make everything work. So yeah, you don't need to use Strappy with React. I just happen to be doing a lot of my development. I work with React, so I try to stick to doing things with the tech that I'm using. So let me take a look here on the comments section, see if there's anything React specific. So we talked about, can we use Strappy with Bootstrap and Vanilla Gs? 100%, you could do that. And yeah, Paul, make a video on Strappy hosting with PostgresDB. Yeah, 100%. So I could actually talk a little bit about it right now as well. And I already made a video with Strappy, but let's go ahead, like I'll kind of show you. That's a good question. Let's kind of talk about it right now. So let's talk about setting up Strappy, and I'll set up like a whole new project, by the way, with you guys. So, because we got whatchamacallit, the Markdown working way easier, and instead of having you guys suffer through me styling the blog, which I haven't decided how to do it yet, let's talk about how to set up Strappy with Postgres. So first thing I'm going to show you, and I'm going to share with you a video that I did that if you forget, you guys could use as reference. So hold on a second, let me switch here. No, not YouTube. I want to go back. I want to go to my channel, your channel. So for tutorials that like, I just randomly made this channel for this one tutorial. So I have a video that I made called Getting Started with Strappy and PostgreSQL, and this is how to set it up locally. So I'm going to post it here, just in case you could have it as reference. And right now what I'm going to do is kind of go and open my terminal and just kind of walk you through a super easy process. So I'm going to make a directory locally here, Strappy Postgres, why not, and cd into Strappy Postgres. So this is where we're going to work. I just made this directory somewhere. I don't know where I made it, but it doesn't matter. And so the first thing is you want to install Strappy and Postgres. So if you go to, regardless if you're using PostgreSQL, can't spell PostgreSQL. That's not it. Not it. Oh my God. So the first thing you want to do is install PostgreSQL locally. PostgreSQL, where's their website? I'm surprised their website doesn't show up automatically because you can't spell Paul. Postgresql, where's their website? So the first thing you want to do is go to their website. Here we go. It's going to be postgresql.org, and you want to download it for either Windows or Mac OS. So I downloaded it for Mac OS, and I literally just click the install button. You decide which platform you need. Make sure you pick the right option. I just do the download the installer. Once you download the installer either for Mac or Windows, what you want to do is install Postgres, and the setup once you install it is going to be super easy because you guys are going to have access to PG admin, right? And so PG admin is going to open up, and it's going to take forever to open up. No rush. I don't have to be anywhere. And once PG admin opens up, the first thing you want to do is create a new database locally, right? And so I already have a bunch of databases here. I'm going to create one called example. And so create database, and PG admin makes it easy. I'm going to call it example. And so the name of the database is going to be example. We want to remember it. The user is going to be Postgres, and I have my secret password here, which I'm going to use. I already set up with PG admin. And so notice here, I have this database example. So the next thing I want to do is I want to install Strappy. So I'm going to Google Strappy here, and you do want to set up the database locally first to make it easier when you're installing Strappy. So we want to get started, and we want to create Strappy App. You just do npx here. So let me go to the folder that I created. Let me see yep. And so I'm going to run npx, and I'm going to call this app Strappy example. And notice how I took out the quick start guide because I want to go through the manual process here. So I click enter. I guess I could make this space bigger. Can I make this bigger? Come on. Yep, make it bigger so you guys could see. And so now it asks me to go through the process. So I want to do custom manual setting. And would you like to use a template? No, I do not. And then it's going to ask a bunch of questions. We want to make sure right away you hit up Postgres. And the reason why you do this is because it's going to create the required files that you need to eventually set to be able to deploy to Heroku. So you click Postgres. I think we called our database example, host here, port here. Password is going to be Postgres, not password, but the username. That's coming from PG admin. My super secret password that I type here. Enable SSL, no, not now. And if everything typed here correctly that matches the credentials that we did on PHP admin here, right, for creating this, then it should work. So because I messed up, I didn't provide the correct examples, it's complaining. I might have mistyped my password. So let's try again. We want to do PostgreSQL. It's called example, host, port, username. If you forgot the username, you could click on the table here, database properties. That's going to show you owner Postgres. That's the owner. So make sure you type Postgres correctly. Password. I might be typing my password wrong, but we'll see. No. Click enter. So let's see here. What's the complaint? Connect as command line folder. Strappy connection. Mismatch. Snapdragon resolved. So let me double check something. So on my system here, I have different node version. So that might be an issue. So I need to make sure that I'm using, let's use node version 14 for now, because I have Mac with an M1 chip, and I have like a weird Node version. Sometimes that causes issues. So let's try that again. Create Strappy App example. Yeah, and so on Linux, installing pgadmin, I haven't gone through those steps, so I can't tell you how easy it is. But once you install pgadmin on Linux, these steps of starting up with Strappy that I'm doing now should work fine. And so Postgres, name is example, host port, and username Postgres, and password enables switch no. Another reason why this might be failing is because I might already be running an instance of Strappy. That could be an issue. Nope, it worked. I just needed to switch to proper. So now this is going to install Strappy for you guys locally. That's going to be connected to our Postgres database that we started here called example. And I'm going to show you, cancel, blah, blah, blah. Once everything installs here, you're going to have basically a file that I'll show you, which is going to have all your settings for your Postgres database, including the password, the name, and stuff like that. And let it keep installing. And while it's installing, Strappy makes it super easy. You literally Google Strappy deploy Heroku, and they have like an excellent article. As you could see, I already clicked on it a bunch of times. And it literally will guide you step through step of being able to install and push your instance of Strappy to Heroku. And the first thing you need to do is install the Heroku CLI. Then you'll have access in your terminal to type Heroku login to login. And I could show you that as an example here. Like if I do Heroku login, because I have the CLI installed, it's going to walk me through the process of logging in through my terminal. And that's literally the hard part, because once you're able to log in with the Heroku CLI, just go ahead through these steps in the article. I'm going to share this article in the comments here as well for those of you who are interested. And this will allow you to deploy your application to Heroku. And the only thing you would have to do after completing these steps, right, in Heroku, there's a place where you could add your environmental variables, which will match this file that I'm going to show you in a second. Let me switch my screen because I'm going to erase my password so you guys don't see it. But, and again, I'm giving you a big overview, but it's actually not that hard. So let me do cd strappy example code, open in code editor. So Strappy has the okay, so let me go back here. So once you install Strappy and you go inside the application, you'll have this config folder, and inside config folder you have your database information. You would want to create a env file where you could put all that data for your local development. But let me go back here to databases here. Before deploying, looking through the documentation here is going to walk you through setting up a production setting in your config file. So you're literally going to go inside here. Let me make sure it's in the right folder here. So it's going to be in your configs. You're going to make a new, not file, new folder, env. And where am I getting this? I'm getting it from this example. You were going to call it new folder production. And then inside that folder, you're going to put a database.js file. And then inside, you're literally going to copy this example. And this is going to be the settings that you need when you deploy. And what it's going to do is going to find the environment variables from Heroku, and it's going to plug all those things inside here, right? And so now let's go back to Heroku. Again, I'm giving you a big overview. I'm not even looking at my comments. I'm going to look at them in just a second, but let me go to the Heroku app. And then inside your project, before you deploy, you're going to have a settings. And I'm not going to click this here, but you see this, it says reveal config vars. You basically will be able to put the key and the variable, like your password to your database, where your database is located, blah, 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 blah. And then everything will just work. So it's not like as hard as people make it out to deploy into Heroku. And the article that literally guides you, whenever I get stuck, I come back to this article from Strappy docs that literally walks you step by step how to deploy your application to Heroku. I've done it multiple times, and literally just go through this article step by step. You will be able to deploy your Strappy instance. So I hope that was like a good enough overview for you guys. Let me take a look here at the questions here. Yeah, I've been enjoying my Mac. I used to use Linux a while ago, but just constantly messing stuff up with Linux, I was like, you know what? I just need a Mac. When I did C# development though, like Windows was so much better, so much better. Let's see here. Tammy says off topic. You and or John, check the settings used to the last night's feed. I can't get any of the live chat comments to show up today. Thanks. I think he just reposted it as a video, so it's no longer live. Yeah, and that's true. There's an add-on, and it shows you the documentation how to set it up. There's a Postgres add-on, and again, it's free that you would add. That's going to kind of allow you to deploy Postgres instance with Strappy. And the article that I showed you, if you follow it, it's going to be, it's going to work. And every time I get stuck, I go back to that article and I, review, make sure that I follow the steps correctly. Let's see here. So let me, now that we have a little bit of time, because if you guys want me to show you something specific with React, let me know in the comments. But let me get to the questions here. Let's see if I could find it on my email. As long as it's not a... Okay, so this is a very good comment here. So here's his email that he said. I'm going to put it in the comments here. And I'm going to answer, because this is a very good question. Why is it not letting me copy and paste? God damn it. Paste. Paste. Don't let me paste. Why? It's not letting me paste. All right, whatever. I'm going to show it to you in my email. So he sent me... Yeah, Tammy, I'm not sure like what the thing is. I know he re-uploaded the video, not the live stream. You know what I mean? So there's a video that he re-uploaded that was not live. It's actually a recording of the live. But here, let me put your email, not email, but whatever your. So here we are. So his questions here is, I don't understand what's the point of rewriting projects. I will never remember anything with rewriting projects. If you rewrite projects and build websites with rewriting from the project, does not make you a developer. What is the point? I don't understand. And you're 100% true, and I do not tell you guys to rewrite or reuse code. And what I guess you inferring is, look, when you're starting out to learn to code, you don't know anything. So you need to go through the tutorials. Like for instance, I don't know like how to code. I am brand new. So what you need to do is you go to Udemy and you find a course that you're going through, you know what I mean? Like I have bajillion courses that I never finish, like whatever. And some random course, and you do the tutorial, you go through the projects, you go through the exercises, you go through like every section and you do the work, right? You do the work, you copy but that's how you learn when you're starting out. But after you're done with this, you turn off the tutorial, right? You go inside Visual Code, and you start a new project. You start from scratch, right? So yeah, by copying other people, you're never going to be able to learn how to code. That's why this project that I'm building, let me close this one, we no longer need it. This project that I'm building here on this stream, I wrote this. You're not gonna find a tutorial which I'm following to build this. This is code that I wrote myself, this project that I designed myself, and this is how you learn, right? You learn by doing it. Of course, this might be complex for someone who's just starting out, but I didn't start here. I started with simple, CodePen projects, and building and writing. Like you'll never see this on any website, right? This thing here that I made, this is the code that I wrote myself that I failed miserably. It took me a long time to figure this out, how to do this. It's through process of learning. I didn't learn this from John Smilga. I didn't learn this from, I applied the knowledge that I knew about JavaScript, and I figured this out by looking stuff up. Like for instance, how to use multi-dimensional arrays and how to iterate through them, using for loop. And then I decided, what, I'm gonna iterate through those arrays using for each, and you basically try it on your own, and rather than trying to continue doing tutorials. So you're absolutely right. Copying tutorials, you're not going to become a developer, but you're going to learn the basics of the language, and then you're going to be able to start working projects from scratch. And that's why I have this live stream, working on projects from scratch, to make sure that we're getting stuff done. Yeah, like I have no idea like how he re-uploads the stuff. I just know that now what he started to do is add the better audio, and so he re-uploads it not as a live stream, but a new YouTube video, Tammy. So, so we basically set up our Markdown blog today, and it is working as expected, and so all I have to do is figure out how to style it, which I was really pleasantly surprised how easy and simple it was. Basically, we use this React Markdown library. You could search React Markdown npm. They showed a very simple example where you just use that component and you pass your Markdown into it, and it magically parses everything. Yeah, if you're building your own projects, you shouldn't be copying code. You should be writing your own code. You know what I'm saying? So you could use other code as reference. Like I've been using GraphQl for such a long time that writing queries and writing all this code, like I memorized it. I know how to do it now. You know what I'm saying? And so the goal is for you to do enough practice to be able to do it. Hologram Nunchucks, looking to learn Node soon. I just realized John Smilga's Node Express course is the one that Free Code uses on the YouTube channel. Yeah, his course is really good. That's the one that I'm eventually going to get to. Right now I'm doing a lot of Strappy stuff, and I'm writing a lot of custom backend code with Strappy. Q, what's up? Where you been, my brother? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so what I said is when you're first starting out, you start by copying and learning what they're doing. If you have code you don't understand, like for instance, like you copied some code like this and you don't know what it means, like okay, if, what the hell is if? And so go to Google and go if Javascript. I don't even know if it's if or else. If, okay, so then, okay, and start reading. Okay, if it allows you to conditionally execute different blocks of code depending on the condition, and it gives some examples. This is what you have to do. You literally have to study on your own, looking stuff up, and then you have to go, oh, okay, here's a if else example. Then you go to CodePen, you know, and you're like, okay, like, let me open up a pen, and you're like, okay, if, you know, and you start writing it, you know, you're like, if Paul is equal to Paul, I don't know, like you just, you know, or we could do like user, and then const user, and you just try it out. You know what I'm saying? This is what I do all day. Like I experiment, and John, and then you kind of like try to figure out like what the stuff you're trying to do. Like, but you have to write your own code, you know. And so like I looked at the documentation that I just showed you, like what if statement is. If it's true, it's going to do this. Else, do something else, and you practice, right? You don't copy. Like notice how I'm writing and experimenting myself once you know the language, and this is what you got to do to get better. You know, alert, hello, and whatever. You just have to practice. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. Like you're asking me, how can you become better at coding? You got to code. You got to practice building stuff, examples, not just copying. But that was just like my attempt on answering your question. So anyway, let's take a look here. So we got our MDN working. So next thing I'm going to do is Markdown working. Next thing I'm going to do is just figure out the styling. I'm not going to bore you writing the styling here, but if you look at our project here, I have too many windows open. Let me close all the windows. Let me go to my close, open, close. So I just made this ugly styling here just to show you that we are able to now style our parsed Markdown code. This is an H1. I made it really ugly. We could make it less ugly. You know, let's not do a background, and then, you know, and style this gray, whatever, it doesn't matter at this point. I know we have an H2 somewhere. Let's style it. I'm just randomly showing you that now I'm able to study each individual component on its own. Let's do color blue, just so it's obvious. No, let's do it. Let's do black for normal, gray for subheaders, and for paragraph, let's make the text gray. And so now if you go to any of the blog entries, you could see that, I don't know why I clicked that. You could see that I have the styling being applied to my blog now. And now it doesn't matter which post I go to, they're all getting the styling because we're able to parse the Markdown. And when we parse the Markdown, it's returning HTML, where before, if you were wondering, it was returning. So if we don't parse this, right? If I don't parse it, let me kind of do this. If I don't parse my Markdown, this is what we were getting before. We were getting just the text, no parsing on our Markdown, and you couldn't really style it. After getting React Markdown, we pass our Markdown into it, and now we have access to HTML elements that we could style. So mission accomplished. That was amazing. Yeah, and
yeah, you got to start writing it yourself. This is what people are telling you. Try to write down the steps in pseudocode, which means like in basic English, and then try to implement it in code. And what he's saying by pseudocode, like I'm going to show you here. So notice, like we have this code here. So obviously it's written in like React and JavaScript. But if I were to write this in pseudocode, I would write something like get post ID from URL, right? URL, before writing all this code. Get data from GraphQL API, right? Check, like I'm writing it in English, if data is loading or has errors, right? Render post details, you know, and basically you write it in plain English and then you fill it with the code that you need. And if you're not sure what the code you need, you Google stuff and you look stuff up. Yeah, you gotta just try to write stuff from scratch, 100%, you know? And this is a great question. Hey, Paul, what's the biggest setback when someone is trying to learn the basics of code? And in my opinion, the biggest setback is the fact there's so many resources there and so many people giving their opinion, including myself, is that it's very hard for people to spend enough time on one thing to actually start to get it done. And that's why, like, when I first started, I was learning all these different languages. I was trying to be good at everything, and I just basically ended up sucking at everything. So that's why I committed to JavaScript, and this is the only language that I really focus on, and JavaScript related technology. So the most important stuff is to understand, don't have to learn everything, just pick one path and stay on it until you get hired. In terms of like the big picture, it's number one, don't try to do everything. And I recently on Twitter, I don't know, like I kind of showed an outline that I followed to get me like hired eventually. Took forever, but this was my outline what to learn. And basically I said, hey, and don't even look at like the second row, the third row, but I said, you know what? I need to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Sass. And there's obviously other things. There's less. There's, you know, a bunch of other stuff. And I said, no, I'm going to make sure that I stick to only these things, and I only focused on learning these things. Now, you look at the things that I learned next. I have React, Style Components, API, and Bootstrap. And I limited myself to only learning these things. Now I'm learning Node, TypeScript, GraphQL, Postgres, Mongo, and Tailwind. And I'm not learning anything outside of that. So if someone said to me, Paul, what do you think about C#? Or Paul, what do you think about PHP? What do you think about Python? I don't care about any of that stuff because I have my plan and I have my roadmap, and I only stick to my roadmap in terms of learning what I need to code. That's like the biggest setback, is that people don't have a roadmap, and when they do have a roadmap, they abandon their roadmap to try to do something else that's more flashy, and that's the biggest mistake. Because everything else, like you could look up, you could read and find the documentation, you could see different stuff. And 100% start with the basics, you know, your normal HTML and CSS, and slowly move up. 100%. Hey Rajesh, good to see you. Hi Paul, happy to see you live. I came here from John's Coding Addict. Fantastic. So, you know, you guys ask amazing questions. That's great. So we got like some cool stuff to work. We got Markdown working. All we have to do is style our application. You know what I was thinking for our application is to have a section. So our blog is showing up. We have our different posts. So what I want to do now is I want to have a section where you're able to see a list of all the developers. And so what we could do is, I think that's something I'm going to add next. And notice how I'm not trying to get every feature perfect. I just want to get all the general functionality done, and then I'm going to come back and refactor. So, you know, we have our basic blog post. I guess one thing that I'm kind of annoyed right now is that when you land on a blog, right, section, if there's no ID provided, right, it's not gonna load like an initial post. So I guess I should kind of figure out how to do it in a way where we're loading at least the first post. So maybe, you know, why not get it done? So David wants tips on learning JavaScript. Literally build stuff in JavaScript. So like I'll show you my CodePen example. So after I do a tutorial, I'll turn off the tutorial and I'll try to like implement stuff. And I'll actually show you, this is a kind of interesting progression. So at first I wanted to learn how can I make like represent a grid where I could, through passing like a array of ones and zeros, represent the design. So I kind of was like, okay, you could use a multi-dimensional array and you could represent different patterns. So I did that, and I was like, that's kind of cool. And I'm like, oh, if I could, and this is all in JavaScript, you just try to write JavaScript. And then what's interesting, I was like, oh, wow, if I could represent a pattern of 5 by 5, you know, kind of grid, I wonder, what can I do with that? And I was like, can I make it show numbers? So I went and I was like, okay, let me make that represent numbers. So I made a grid with a multi-dimensional array, which basically creates a CSS grid. And, you know, I'm using just vanilla JavaScript just to practice building stuff from scratch with JavaScript. Once I got it to show my digits and random numbers, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I make this into a clock, right? I didn't start with a clock initially. It's just I started writing some random JavaScript, and eventually led me into like, okay, let me make a digital clock using what I learned about building a grid from a multi-dimensional array. And basically the best way to learn JavaScript or React is to literally start from scratch and discover things on your own by failing and reading documentation. So that's what I would say is my opinion, and this is something that I try to work on and do. Very interesting, and love, Katie, I love you. That's my sister, by the way. She's visiting and checking us out. This is not my best live stream, Katie, but you know, I try to stay consistent and do my best every time. My sister is like the most amazing person in my life. Like she would say, he's just saying that to be nice to me. But let me tell you, I've not been nice to my sister all the time. But the reason why I became the person that I am today is because I had my sister to always lead by example, even though she's my younger sister, and allow me to kind of have this like amazing role model to be like, wow, like that's what the right thing to do is. This is how you become a normal human being and normal person. And so I think we kind of do that back and forth, even though I think I set plenty of bad examples of what not to do in life. But yeah, my sister's the best. She just, well, not just recently, but gave birth to most amazing baby boy you've ever seen. And I'm excited to be in Connecticut soon, Katie. And I can't wait to see you guys. And before picking up Ari, I'm going to definitely stop by to see you guys first. I was going to surprise Mom, but I'm going to be traveling the 4th, 5th, and 6th to drive to Connecticut. So hopefully I'll see you guys either on that Sunday or that Monday, depending on the trip. But love you, Katie. Say hello to everybody, you know. So anyway, let's look at other comments here. So what I was talking about our application, wouldn't it be cool if you have a page where we could show a list of all the developers? And so what I could do now is, you know, we got the basics. Obviously I have to style this better, but I want to get the basic functionality first. So we have our projects detail. We have our, you know, basic information where you could leave comments, you could find stuff and see stuff, but I want to have a section where we are able to now see all the developers that have added their projects. And what I want you to be able to do, I want you to be able to hit on the developer's name, which we don't have here. And once you hit on the developer's name, it's going to take you to the developer's page where you could see all their projects and all of their blog articles that they wrote. And Hologram Nunchucks, I really appreciate the kindness. Your brother is awesome. He's always helping us out. And I try to do my best, but please understand, I am a human being and I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. And a lot of times you see probably the best representation of me on YouTube, where Katie saw me through my best and my worst. But I really appreciate the love and the kindness. Actually, Ancient Boy, that is a great question. Need to learn pagination and React. Maybe let's kind of do that. Let's figure out, what, for next stream, let's handle pagination first. So it could be, let's go here. So at some point, we might have like bajillion articles here, and instead of maybe having you to scroll, we want to create a pagination feature. Or at some point, we're going to have 1,000 entries and we want to maybe show 100 entries at once. So you know what? That's a great idea, Engine Boy. And I think what I'm going to do is actually make that the next topic here. Make the next topic for our next stream is talk about pagination. And because at some point we're going to have, let's say on our home page, we're going to have a lot of different projects. And let me go ahead and actually add a bunch of projects here. Log in. I don't remember my password, to be honest with you. And it's the wrong email. No, wrong password. Let me try test user. The good news is we did implement our forgot password link that works. So I'm gonna actually use it to reset my password because I forgot it. So email sent to coding after 30. Let me go off screen here and figure that out. Yeah, I think pagination is a really good idea. I think next stream is going to be pagination. Yeah, look at that. I got this email. I could click it now. And now I'm going to able to reset my password. I'm glad we implemented this functionality. And now I'm able to log in. Coding after 30. The password. God damn it. I just reset my password. What are you telling me? Oh, the wrong email. And make sure that you spell your email correctly. Coding after 30@gmail.com. It might have been the issue that I might have also not spelled my name right. So, and then like sometimes like you'll just fail. Also, another issue could be I could have typed my password incorrectly when I was fixing it. Okay, no, I was not typing it correctly. So what's cool is like we're able to add projects through our dashboard too, guys, which is, we did it a bunch of streams ago. Test, choose file, copy of 30, let's add that. Let's not worry, oh, I need to provide a GitHub URL and site URL. They're making me do a lot of stuff. I don't have a site URL, www.google. And eventually I'm gonna come back and refactor everything, but for now, just to kind of go through the process of, and click create project, of getting the general basic functionality. And again, I'm just gonna make a bunch of random projects tests too. And the reason why I'm gonna do that is because we wanna be able to implement some sort of pagination. And I'm gonna use this as an example here. Create project. So let's say, you know, we get to a point, and this is probably a bad example, but why not show it? We get to this point where we have 3 items, and we only want to show 3 items, and then the next 3 and the next 3. And so what we don't want to do, like let's say it's 1,000 items, I'm going to add another project test 3, whatever, and let's do this one. And again, I should probably put the right information here, but now at least we know our add project feature works, which is fantastic. So now we have, you know, 4 items here, but we want to create some sort of, and obviously you would do this with 10 items or 20 items, but you wanted to add some pagination here where we only want to get 3 items. And we don't want to handle that on the front end. For instance, I don't want to go into my front end here and go to, you know, our home page, to our projects, and for instance, we're getting our projects and we're mapping through them. I don't want to write the logic here where only show 3 items. You know, what I want to do is I want to figure out how do we write the query to only get 3 items, and how to add pagination. So because I'm using, so we want to do the pagination, what I'm saying is on the back end, and that'll be like a really good place to start. So I'm actually curious now, because I know I'm using Strappy as my back end. I would do Strappy pagination and kind of see what they say using GraphQL. Pagination and Strappy using GraphQL. So this is what we're using. We're using GraphQL. For example, we create a collection, blah, 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 blah. Again, I'm kind of flying through this because I'm kind of trying to get an idea of, you know, quickly. One thing that we're all going to learn how to do is like skim through stuff really, really fast. So we want to implement in the GraphQL offset pagination, which is basically you want to get 5 items per request. So on initial request, we get the limit of items that we want, and then we offset it by 0. So I'm assuming on the next request, we limit for 5 items, but we offset it by 5, meaning get the next 5, and so on and so on. And so this is kind of talking about different ways to use pagination with GraphQL. If you're using REST API, you would try to figure out how to do it with REST. Then there's cursor-based pagination in GraphQL, where since indexes offset-based pagination are not reliable, we can identify the records directly in a data set and use them as pivot points. This point of pivot is the cursor, hence the name cursor page pagination, the point of a pivot. And let me back up here before we get too far ahead. So you asked the question, and I think it's a great idea, need to learn pagination in React, but the truth be told, you never want pagination to be handled by the front end. And the reason being is because, yes, you could kind of create pagination where, let's say you get 100 items on the front end that comes from the request and gets loaded to your browser, and then you could create pagination where you're basically only showing 10. But the issue is you still preloaded those 100 items to the front end. You know what I'm saying? So let's say you have 100,000 items. If you're using front-end based pagination, you're getting those 100,000 items, which will crash the browser, by the way, into your browser front end, and then you're only showing like 10 at a time. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is implement your pagination on the back end, which means that you never have an issue where you're getting 100,000 items loaded. You're literally only getting 10 items at a time from the backend, and pagination is handled by the backend. And this is what this article with Strappy is referring to, is how to get the pagination working using GraphQL with Strappy. Now, this is going to be a lot more work for us. So let me kind of save this article. Oh, actually, hold on. Is this already pre-built? How do we employ pagination in GraphQL? It seems complex to do all these weird language structures, use blah, blah, blah. But we have limit, offset. I'm actually kind of curious now. They're very query about, and I guess I could have showed you how to do this in REST API, but because I'm using GraphQL, it's kind of interesting for me to look into this here. But I think Strappy might have this straight out of the box. Well, it's interesting, we could test it out, because I could go to my GraphQL playground, which is my local host. Actually, that's 7 here. We don't want to go to admin, we want to go to GraphQL. And again, just because this project is built with GraphQL, I'm going to focus on GraphQL first, but I think we could also figure out how to do it with REST. So we have a projects query here. So when I click play, we're going to get all the projects. So let me just make it simple. I'm just going to return the name and the description. So like, you don't have to understand everything 100%, but basically we get, we write a query that we pass from the front end, and it's going to return 4 of our projects. And what this is saying, that this might be already implemented in Strappy. And we'll take a look at the rest. I'm just curious to do it with this here first. And let's see here. They're showing some example. I think this is pre-baked into Strappy. Benefit of using Strappy. So I want to limit. So we're getting projects. Let's see. I want to limit. Oh, sweet. What? This is already pre-built in the GraphQL with Strappy? That's amazing. Search for limit. So limit will give you an example of, okay, so we pass an integer, which if we say limit equals 2, we should now only return 2 items. Perfect. We're returning 2 items. So basically now I could pass this to my query, and this is kind of in my application here. Let me go to projects. We have our project query, and just to kind of show you this here, if I refresh, we're getting 4 items, but I want to limit to only get 3 items at a time. So in code, I would get all projects. I'm assuming I could just do this, limit 3, project query. And now I refresh. Now notice we're only getting 3 items. So I guess pagination would be is I would have to create a button here, which will basically be like, hey, show next 3 items. And I bet it's going to be, we want to limit 3. And let's look at the example. And again, this is GraphQL based. So we want to offset by 3, let's say. So this means that we're only going to get the 1 left. Where am I clicking all this stuff here? Let me close these unnecessary windows that we don't need. We only need this. So now I want to get the last one. And again, I'm just hard coding the values now, but it'd be offset. Oh, we don't have offset. Cursor. Oh, we have start. What does start do? Let me look at the example more. But again, I'm just trying So I don't think offset exists. Okay, so they're saying you need to rewrite. Okay, so this is going to be more complex with GraphQL, because it looks like we have to write a custom query. Because it's not initially pre-built, but I'm still curious. And so we're using GraphQL, but whatever. Strappy Pagination using Strappy Pagination API calls. Yeah, I know I'm getting like off tangent here. Let me come back here to the comments. But basically pagination on the front end, it's not what the problem gets solved. You implement it in the back end. So that's the lesson of today. I'll have to do more research about it to figure out, because you might have to write some custom backend code with Strappy. I don't think it comes out of the box. So we'll go from there. Sounds good, sounds good. I think remote jobs used to be hard to get than, you know, jobs where you have to go into the office, but I think with COVID that's changing. Blah, blah, blah. 100,000, that seems low. Yeah, I mean, like, you could have bajillion items, you know, that. I don't know whoever said that women shouldn't code. I've never said it. I think we need more women coders, but that's interesting. Strappy is a CMS that allows you to create backend like really, really quickly. And it is open source. It's very easy to get started and install. You literally just go to their documentation like I am. Let me kind of share my screen here. You literally go to strappy.io, go to their documentation. So basically it's a content management system that allows you to easily create an API. You literally run this one command and you're pretty much ready to go. Obviously there's a bunch of customization that you can do if you choose to do it. It gives you this nice UI that you could add content stuff. And basically if you're focusing on learning front end but you need an API, this is one of the easiest ways to do it, and this is what I have been doing at all of my projects. What was your question? Lucky, just ask it again. I don't know like where it went, but just ask it again. Lol. And I'm not sure exactly what the context of it here. You might have to clarify more. Are you still talking about pagination? It's not URL based. I think it's reset page after refresh does it. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff like to learn. This is like one of the things, like when people talk about how to become a developer in 3 months and all this other great stuff, there's literally a lot of work that we all have to do. I mean, even just creating front end with React, you know, and Strappy, like I can't even imagine like, you know, building a full stack application from scratch. You need to know so much. Like that's like where I'm at my learning journey. You're my biggest fan. That's hilarious. And then if you were my biggest fan, you wouldn't say that I don't think girls should code, which is definitely not true. Never said that. That I think women shouldn't code. So that's hilarious to me. If you were my biggest fan, you probably would have known that 100%. 100%. That's actually true. The funniest thing is, so my first person who actually listened to my advice and did the work that I talk about to do on, you know, my community channel and here, she actually ended up switching careers and getting hired as a React front-end developer. And it'll be amazing to have her come on the stream when she has time. She's been like really busy working, but yeah, 100%. But again, I don't really, you know, this is the internet. People say stuff, make stuff up all the time. You know what I mean? But for me, it's like I just share my story. I think, you know, if you enjoy coding, it doesn't matter which pronoun you follow, you should do coding. You know what I'm saying? If you enjoy it. But if you don't enjoy it, there's plenty of other jobs. So I know we've been hitting an hour and a half. I was kind of surprised that getting Markdown to work was really quickly. We answered some questions. We thought about topics to do next. I think we are going to try to figure out how to handle pagination with Strappy and GraphQL next. And I mentioned the reason why you want to do it on the back end, because the idea is if you have bajillion items, we should get ice cream together. Okay, so this is a legitimate troll. I love it. New coder 123, where should we get ice cream from? That's the question I want to know. Yeah, let's, are you follow on Twitter? Twitter. I don't know, I put a space there. New coder 123, you're the best troll ever. Are you, listen, if you're not messing with me right now, like first of all, I want to say I love you, new coder 123. But the other thing I want to say, I will, guys, I think it's time to go soon, in a few minutes, 100%. Yeah, I'm 100%. No. Let's physically go there. Let's physically go there. We're definitely gonna do it. And like, I eventually was able to put the puzzle pieces together and figure it all out. Who these trolls are. These trolls are, by the way, are the most dangerous trolls that are trolling me right now, because not only are they hurting my feelings, they're also trying to do everything they can to make me fat. And you know what? I'm gonna say yes to Andy's, and we should go there, physically drive there. So that's fantastic. So I was saying that I'll be getting some ice cream soon, guys, and so I will be ending the stream shortly because duty calls and you have to do it. But the first, like before I go, let me just check out Lucky's here project on Twitter. Check it out. Then we're gonna go in a few minutes. Lucky, I can't believe I'm not even following you on Twitter. Okay, Lucky. Am I even, like, I'm not even searching around. I don't even know how to use Twitter correctly, guys. This is the most ridiculous thing. Blah, 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 blah. Man, Lucky, I'm having a hard time typing. Okay, Lucky, Lucky, next time I'll definitely go and like look up your project. Okay, can you check the React project on my Twitter? It's on my pinned tweet. Is my name. I'm having a hard time finding you. Send me a friend request on. Okay. Oh, I'm an idiot. This got to be you right here. Perfect. React pinned project. Blah, blah, blah. I don't like. I just recently started using. Here we go, right here. This is new game. Okay, this is a picture. Okay, show this. Nice. This is cool. That's cool. 100 days of code. Yeah, that looks awesome. Send me like the actual. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I found it. Sorry, I turned off my screen here. This is the game Lucky made. I'm going to win. Because I'm a mind reader. This is 100% happening. Oh, slap. Oh, slap. I'm the champion. Took me 7 turns. We did it. Lucky, this is awesome. This is great. Keep up. Keep up the great work. This is fantastic. Nice. And it randomly changes the tiles. Fantastic. So, guys, not to hurt anybody's feelings, my voice is starting to go. And I have a chance of eating ice cream from Andy's. That's what we're going to do now. So thank you all, guys. Have great holidays. I'll see you guys later. Love all of you guys. I know the stream was all over the place, but sometimes that's what they are, because I don't practice ahead of time and don't plan these streams because I want to show you a true experience what it's like coding. But thank you all for everything. I love everybody. I'll see you guys on the next stream. Have a great one. And I'm going to go to Andy's apparently. See you guys later.